Yo, Vibe Tribe, we're back with another VyBCast. Sitting next to me is Mason Cohen.
Yo, Vibe Tribe, what is up?
Co-host of the VyBCast. And across from me is Adit Gupta, the CEO and co-founder of VyB.
Hey, Vibe Tribe. Zach, Mason, thank you guys both for having me on the VyBCast. Finally, I'm so excited to be here.
Of course, we're happy to have you. So let's get right into it. What led you to starting VyB? What was that like?
Yeah, so my junior year, I met Mason and Nico through our tennis instructor, where we first started playing tennis, and we were actually working on a different project called I Consent, where we wanted to change kind of what we thought about how the world acts between dating apps and how the world kind of rates each other's experiences. It was a very intricate problem, and at the time we wanted to kind of find a solution to the whole Me Too movement. And long story short, after a lot of speaking with a whole bunch of people, we realized I don't think we were solving the right problem. And when we heard a lot of people complaining about, hey, we're not sure like what to do right now, all the events that we find are for tomorrow or this weekend, we feel kind of lost in what's happening around us right now. We thought of that as an opportunity to start VyB.
You're about to graduate college, so can you talk a little bit about, your being ahead of the game?
Yeah, so I would say it happened accidentally. When I was young, I started high school when I was 12, and before that, I was traveling quite a bit to India and different parts of India and back and forth. And for all of you listeners out there, I don't know if you knew, but many countries in the whole world start their school year in different time periods. So here in America, it starts around the September time period. However, in different countries, it's generally March or April. And so in the midst of that travel, I just got bumped up a couple grades.
So what was it like growing up with people that were older than you? And I mean, it probably was a good experience. You learned a lot.
Yeah, I think I have to admit, it's been hard because I've always been a little bit immature in high school, starting at 12 and so forth. But I think it's great because you end up being acclimated to your environment, and every new environment when people are older than you, it's hard, but you just fit in.
Yeah, for me, obviously my case is not as extreme as Adit's, but I've always been pretty young for my grade. I was on the brink of whether I was going to start a year ahead of me, but I chose to be young. And personally, it's always motivated me because I've always felt like I'm doing more for my age. I don't know if you felt the same way growing up.
Like you're ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I guess sometimes. It also, it does motivate me. Other times it's rough sometimes as entrepreneurs when people expect you to have white hair in investor meetings. And
So tell me about a time when you felt lost and you felt like you didn't know where to go next.
Oh man, that happens every single day when I wake up and I don't know what to do next. But luckily I've always been organized, not as organized as Mason here, but I've always been into creating a schedule for myself, a schedule for what I want to do today with tasks of what I want to accomplish in the day. But a time where I didn't know basically what to do next was when I got to college. I came in as a business major. I don't know if many of you guys know that, but I came in as a business major, and I wanted to do the regular thing, become a businessman, and not really sure what to do. I went to a hackathon at UPenn, and after that I realized I was the stupidest person in the room. Everyone was coding, making cool things, presenting it, talking about business, and there I was with no idea of how to make a single program with the computer. And so as a challenge, I changed my major the week after from business to software engineering. And after that, I finally had a little bit of a kind of a path crafted where I had a challenge that was presented of what I had to do to not be lost anymore.
So changing your major in the first week, that was kind of like a big decision where you think you're going into like a path like business and then you change it to software engineering. Do you look back at that and say, okay, that was the right move, or are you like, I should have stayed in business?
Definitely. I think that was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
Mhm.
I started my first business when I was around 12, 13 years old teaching tennis. And luckily through that, I was able to learn a lot about marketing and communication and just managing money and strategy for price increases over years. But coming into college, I knew absolutely nothing about computers and coding. And so this coding change really helped me look at the whole world differently, from not just business to thinking about logic and think about computers and think about how the electronics all around us work.
So for somebody that's trying to get into coding and starting like programs, where can they go to learn that?
Yeah. So I guess an analogy I'd like to give, when you're starting a new thing like coding, think of it as jumping into a freezing cold tub of water. It's going to sting at first, but you eventually get used to it. And coding is similar, where it might seem like the hardest thing in the world initially, but when you just jump right into it, work on a project, whether it's your own website, whether it's a fun app for your friend, I jumped right into it by making a app for my girlfriend for her birthday.
What was that?
It was a coupon app where you could redeem coupons on certain occasions. And I learned how to make a UI, user experience. I learned how to make a back end. So it was kind of cool where every time you'd redeem a coupon, I would just get an automated email for, hey, there's free dinner or something of that sort.
So when you were like, okay, I'm going to start VyB, what was the first thing you did? What did you do?
Yeah.
Because it's a big moment, okay, we're starting a company.
So I think for us, as soon as we started VyB, we had a little bit of work from iConsent that we transitioned into VyB. For example, we had our website, which we had to change because we were working on a whole new project and we didn't want to buy a new domain. We had a little bit of code. We had a little bit of early things like a very, very rudimentary stage of a business plan and a pitch deck and things of that sort. And so what we did was we just versioned it from version 1 to now version 2 is going to be something completely different. And that's where kind of Mason's organization skills came in, where we organized it all as like a time frame. So all of iConsent was, version 0, version 1, and then after that pivot, we marked that in our Google Drive, and everything thereafter has been VyB.
Awesome. So, you're CEO of a company, of a startup company, and you got school, you got a social life. How do you balance all of this? How do you do it?
Oh man, I think it just helps when you're working in a position that you're working with people that you love and you're working with an idea and a problem that you're really passionate about. And I think we can speak a little bit more about that in a little bit. But in terms of work-life balance, I feel like it's always hard because you're thrown into positions where you have to work all day. I used to start my mornings very, very early, around 4 or 5 a.m., and very late and work through most of it. But I realized that it's not good to do that because you burn yourself out. So I think it's very funny because you have to think of yourself like a machine. You have to go for an oil change. You have to make sure the machine gets some rest so it doesn't overheat. So similarly, you have to make sure you prioritize the destinations or what you have to do first, and get an oil change, which might be the gym. That's what I often do to keep myself sane when it's a super busy day. It's something that keeps me grounded. And just other techniques like that. When
I go outside and I get a quick rollerblading session, I feel like it helps my brain focus on whatever I'm doing for that day. So could you talk about some of the myths or something that you have noticed, maybe falsehoods, or I wouldn't even say that, when you're starting a company, some myths that you feel like, okay, that didn't affect me, or?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest myths of starting your own company is when you're when you have a lot of people working in a company and you're the executive team, people think that the executive team, is just cruising, there's not a lot to do, but in a startup, you can think of the executive team as people that literally work on everything, because if they don't, the company fails. And similarly, when Mason, myself, and Nico started to expand the team, get our future leaders, and so forth, one of the myths is we would stop, working, or there would be less work. But actually, we had to start working more to make sure we were accommodating to everyone's needs. We were accommodating to maintaining our company culture, to maintaining our progress. We introduced so many new kind of organization things like quarterly goals, one-on-ones, and so many more things to make sure our long-term vision stays on track.
So I think this is a pretty cool topic. So the Future Leaders Program, that's something that I'm a part of, and I love it. I'm so thankful for all of it. Could you talk about how you kind of came up with that idea?
Yeah. All right. So for a really long time, it was just myself, Mason, Nico, and Tom working on VyB, and we got a whole bunch of people, sending us emails, LinkedIn requests, saying, "Hey, we're looking for internships or something to do. Do you have any opportunities?" And for a long time, we just kind of brushed it away, thinking we're too young, and we can't provide a good experience, because as someone who's worked in 5-6 different internships in all sorts of companies, I've had some great internships, and I've had some internships that were just horrible. I've had some internships where I was just treated like an intern with no responsibilities. And I realized there's nothing more demoralizing than being in a position where everyone is kind of doing the big boy or big girl task, and you're expected to do kind of like the small and not so important tasks. And so we realized we do need more help in a lot of areas in our team, but we don't want to start just an internship program. We want to start something where we inspire people to change the world. And then we also realized that, hey, if we're recruiting people, these people need to be leaders. They need to be just like the most ambitious, the most positive people ever. And that's where we came up with the name Future Leader Program, because if there are these sort of people that are leaders, they're going to do huge things in their future. And we wanted to help plant the seed of them being hugely successful leaders in the future now, and then also see if their passions align with VyB. So we ended up speaking to some people and creating our overall structure of the program, and started just a regular recruitment and interview process for 3 weeks. That was all we had. We ended up getting more applications than we expected, about 25, 26, and we took the 6 most ambitious and excited individuals that really, really cared about what we were doing as a company and shared their excitement with us. And we just started the program.
So now you've got like a team of 10. What is it? 10 people on the team?
Yep.
What's your vision? What's your vision of VyB, and what do you want it to be?
Yeah. So VyB is a real-time rating platform for social experiences. We, our vision is to help people think just a little bit less and enjoy just a little bit more. And that can be applied to so many areas. First, and I'm going to sum it up into 3. First is discovery. Second is incentivization. And third is payments. So number 2 and 3 are latter in our product roadmap. But what we're starting with is discovery. Well, people find it extremely tough is figuring out what's happening around them, discovering their community. How we do it today is by texting a friend, by texting, we're calling anyone that we know that is having an experience currently. And what's really hard about that is we have to basically rely on the reply to figure out whether we want to engage in that environment or party or restaurant or things of that sort. I'm sure for you guys in the audience out there, you've probably texted someone and say, "Hey, is it crowded in the bar?" Or what's the vibe at that restaurant, or things like that, or food truck, or before going there. But there's no way to actually find out from the people that are having those experiences, the people that you don't know, but are a part of your community. So that's what we want to kind of disrupt now. And in the future, we want to get into rewards and payments, where we help people get rewarded and incentivized for all of their experiences, and also kind of make it easier for them to pay for those experiences instead of the regular take out your credit card and put in the checkbook. And we want to make it easier. We want to make it faster so people can save fractions of seconds a day. And, eventually all of that adds up. It makes people's lives easier.
I think that, before even coming on the VyB team and before my time with VyB, I felt like there needed to be something where I could see what's going on, what to do at a certain time, and this solves the problem.
So Adit, working extremely close with you over the past almost 2 years now, something I've noticed is your extremely well-rounded networking skills. Can you tell me a little bit about what makes you so effective at networking? How do you maintain relationships? And then how do you turn those relationships into adding value into yourself, into VyB in your own life?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Mason. So I don't know if I'm a really effective networker, but I just love talking to people. And I think that stems from when I used to teach tennis. In order to pay for school, I taught 10, 20 hours a weekend. And I'd talk to people of all sorts of ages. So during those lessons, I would often have to talk to new people and in a very friendly way, try to sell them on a 1 hour lesson. And I think just doing that for 5-6 years made me very comfortable just speaking to 3-year-olds to 73-year-olds and of everything in the middle. And now I think I think of some things in a very kind of different perspective. If you think about all of life, in the grand scheme of things, we're just a speck in all the universe. And so if you shy away from the things, or if you hold yourself back, it feels like you can't breathe, And so I often just open up to people and just ask about them, because there's so many cool people in the world. And if you keep yourself closed in and refrain from learning from their experiences and their all the cool things they've done in life, it's again, it feels like you can't breathe. And so that's what keeps me going to meet people.
Yeah, so what I'd say, so you open yourself up and allow yourself to relate to others on a very personal level. And you think that's probably why the relationships you're able to build can last so long and be so valuable.
Yeah, correct. So the relationship building is there's a really good book by Adam Grant, an organizational psychologist at University of Pennsylvania. It's called Give and Take, and it's often about people that are either givers, matchers, or takers. And that really opened up my eyes on what kind of person I want to become as a young adult, and just as a business person. You can be a taker and take people's opportunities and take people's time, or you can be a matcher where you give them something in return of getting something back, or you can just be a genuine giver where your goal is to help the world and hope for the best. You want to help the world, and you just want to make the world a better place by helping, by collaborating, by learning from individuals. And that's what really inspires me and keeps me going for what kind of person I want to become.
I think you do that great. Audit is probably one of the... I would receive a text at 1 a.m, and it's, him trying to teach me how to be a better person and a better business, in VyB. And friends try to make friends better. And I think that's something that you do, and I could really say that without feeling like I'm lying. Like, you really try to make everybody around you better without expecting anything in return. And I think that's a really big thing about you that I love.
Thank you, Zach. I just, for all of the audience members out there, I read this book recently called Radical Candor, about how you should always have radical candor with your friends, your colleagues, because ultimately being truthful and honest not only helps them, but it helps everyone, the whole relationship in the long run. Because as friends, if you don't help each other get better, then I wouldn't say you're friends.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a cool way to look at it. That's like a true way to look at it. So next week you're going on a very exciting trip to Alaska. How did that come about, Alaska?
Yeah. So one of my uncles gave me the opportunity to go with him on a cruise from Seattle to Alaska, and it was completely something I wasn't expecting. But yeah, so I'll be going to Alaska. It's about a week long, and it's kind of frustrating because I'll be disconnected from the whole world for an entire week without being able to reply to my VyB emails and so forth. But I'm going to try to make the best out of the situation, and I've already started mentally preparing by figuring out what books I want to read, what I want to work on, whether I want to do yoga for 7 days or just what can I do to take this as an opportunity to work on myself where I'm disconnected from everything and then regenerate and come back stronger.
Awesome. So 6 months from now, what can we expect from you and what can we expect from VyB?
Yep. So 6 months from now, where we want to be is post-launch. We've built a very special company, VyB. We've built a very special culture. And what we want to build is a user base of people that love using our platform, just truly can't live without it because it helps them in their daily decisions. And 6 months from now, we're going to be live in Philadelphia. So we're hoping to go live end of July, August or so. And so that's where we're going to be in 6 months.
Awesome. From the host of VyB and the co-host of VyB, Mason, we are super excited. And we thank you for, coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll see you next week. VyB Tribe out.